So you want to install head gaskets into your car. First things first, not all head gaskets are created equal. So the first thing you need to do is take the top of your engine apart to figure out which ones you need. I'm going to be getting the most expensive head gaskets that I can find. So the question is, which one specifically do I need? Aren't both sides of the head supposed to be the exact same? Well, that is what we need to determine. If you forgot to drain your radiator, it should start pouring out when you start loosening up the head. And with the head off, this is the reason you have to wait to find out if you need a left or a right. In this particular case, this is open. However, this cooling port is plugged. So I will need a left and a right. The head gasket that I took off is open on the front and the rear of the head. However, the replacement is going to be closed on one side, so I need to make sure that I get the proper one.
It puts the boost on the skin, or else it gets the hose again.
So originally I thought my head gasket was the issue. However, as it turns out, my number one cylinder has a nice little hole in the top of it. So I just got off the phone with Summit Racing. I talked to them, picked their brain a little bit about what I might need for this thing. I told them I just wanted stock replacement pistons, but I wanted them built for boost. So we're going with forged pistons. I'll put up the item numbers and stuff and whatever else. If you have a stock Gen 3, Gen 4, whatever, 5.3 LS engine and truck engine. So I don't know if there's a difference, but there's a truck engine. It's called an LM7 from a 2004 Suburban. So if you got anything remotely similar to that, you can try using the same parts. I'll even give you the piston ring part number, and I will also give you the connecting rod part number. He recommends I go with new connecting rods as well, because he's saying that the pistons will now be able to hold up to everything, but the connecting rods are going to be the weak link at that point. And he says that because the whole new rotating assembly is now lighter than the stock one, I'm also recommended that I go and get my crankshaft rebalanced. So if you're going to go the whole nine and do everything all at once, do all of that. That is Summit's recommendation. But as it stands right now, for all of my new parts to arrive, it's going to be 1 week.
1 week later.
Well, ain't that just fucking typical. The guy that I was talking to at Summit, great dude, love talking to him, knowledgeable, etc., etc. But when he transferred me to somebody else to complete the order, that's when things got completely fucked up. Dude was trying to, apparently he was trying to get me to buy 16 pistons instead of 8, and he was trying to get me to buy 16 connecting rods instead of 0. Then he only half charged my order, so nothing shipped. Come to find out a fucking week later, I'm sitting here with nothing. If Jegs wasn't a bunch of fucking scumbags, which is exactly what they've been since the late 90s, I would go to them and see if they had anything, but that's out of the fucking question. Maybe I could go to Brian Tooley Racing and see if they had some pistons for this thing. I'm at the point now where I just want to put the fucking thing back together and don't give a shit. I'm kind of thinking eGay is my last option here, and I'll just buy the cheapest set of replacement pistons that I can find and throw those bastards in. Allegedly, another week from now, I should get my new pistons. Now that we have the heads off, we've got our new copper head gaskets, our SCE, and they have the rubber seals. I don't know if they got them on the other side or not. When I take it apart, I'll find that out. Part number S191662R. They are the same size, so they're some pretty thick-ass gaskets. It does actually say head side, so this side is the head, and it's got the blocked off port on this side like it does over there. The head does not have a blocked port, but the block is. If for whatever reason, if I ever do any kind of modification, I'll just make that hole over here, hopefully without screwing anything up. But it does say that the front is on this side, so this one is definitely for the passenger side of the engine. It has the cooling port on the other side, S191662L. So head side for this Wow, what an absolute pain in the ass to try to get that out. There is actually a little rubber seal on both sides. Now again, these are the most expensive ones that I could find. They are $320 for a pair. So on average, $160 per head gasket. So as thick as they are, they should never have a problem with these suckers. I don't know how well they work and whatnot, but well, we're going to find out. I didn't want to get the ones that was just the copper and then you had to put some sort of a sealant on it. I want the ones that has this little rubber thing embedded into it. So it's not some sealant that you can wipe off. It's a rubber seal that's actually embedded into the material. So if any of you were wondering that, but it is on both sides. This is something that was never shown in any photos or any information, is that there is actually a rubber seal on both sides. And even though that does not look flat, hopefully when I clamp it down, it will straighten out. Another fucking week later. Here's an issue that I've been struggling with here. I'm trying to find, I can't find any marks on my crank pulley as to where top dead center is, pointing some zero mark or anything like that. So I'm trying to figure out whether I'm on the top dead center of the compression stroke or not. And here's what I'm going to do in order to try to find that, since I can't find any help anywhere online. I'm going to take two of the push rods, I'm going to put them back into these two ports. Now, as long as those two stay flush with this up at the top, then that means I'm on the compression stroke. If one is longer than the other, that means I'm not on the compression stroke. That's how I'm going to do it, and we will find out if I'm wrong or not. Nobody else anywhere online has said how to do it, so this is my assumption, knowing what I know about engines and building them and making them work. So that is what I am going to assume. That's how I'm going to do it. Holy shit, look at that. And you can tell right here, the metal that was in that hole started to fuse into the oil ring down at the bottom. Yeah, we definitely have boost pressure. So ring gap was the cause of this. Piston held up pretty damn well, actually. It just started to melt. But yeah, it didn't split and send a whole bunch of debris and stuff into the engine and whatever else. Another thing is, the biggest issue that I'm facing right now, how the hell I'm going to get that wrist pin out without my shop press and everything, but I'm noticing it takes considerable effort to actually rotate this. I'm wondering if that's because of the damage. Even though it's away from it, it shouldn't have anything to do with it. So I'm wondering if that could be a loss of horsepower right there. If I take all the pistons out and replace them. Floating wrist pins and everything. I wonder if I'd be freeing up some horsepower. I am concerned that these new head gaskets are going to be having overheating issues because they're blocked off in certain spots by comparison to the stock head gaskets. So what I've done is I've gone through and drilled additional holes and widened out some of the holes. The only issue with doing this, you have to remember, one, make sure you deburr every single hole on both sides, and make sure, because these head gaskets are not perfect, the rubber seals on one side do not line up to the rubber seals on the other side. So make sure you don't drill through one of your rubber seals. And this here is another reason why you can't just buy two lefts or two rights and just slap them into your car. They don't line up. The other thing to note is that those tabs that don't line up don't actually go to anything. The head bolts go into this hole, 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 and this hole. So what the hell these ones are for, even though they're the same diameter as the head bolts, they don't actually go to anything. And even on the head side, again, they go to nothing. It's just aluminum backing. There's no holes that go straight through for a bolt to come through or nothing. The biggest problem with buying on eBay today is you're always at risk of getting scammed. I bought 3.780 inch pistons and I received 3.9 inch. So these must be for a 5.7 liter. I do not have a 5.7, I have a 5.3. So these ain't gonna work. And I also bought dish pistons. These are dome. So, I like how this video is supposed to be about building the goddamn car, and it turned into a shipping wars nightmare. Even you're thirsty? That's the drink bowl. Haha, I'm back. Just got done riding into town. 20 some fucking miles. Just got back. Where's the new piston, you ask? It's in the fucking trash. You know why? The dude at the shop told me he didn't want to try to push the pin out because he was worried he was going to break the connecting rod. Well, I busted the piston that was already damaged to a million motherfucking pieces trying to get that pin out of it. Come to find out after I did, does this thing have the same problem? Yeah, it's nowhere near as bad as the other one. But anyway, I got the pin out, and I got the new piston, and I set it in there, and I pressed the pin all the way through, and it's going, it's going through, and all right, I got it just like that, and I go to try to turn the thing, and it was completely locked like that. It could not be turned. So, tried to press the pin out and use one of the new pins from the pistons that didn't fit mine. Tried to push that pin out with the new pin, hoping that it was not as tight of a clearance, and ended up snapping that fucking piston into a million pieces. And the connecting rod. So I did the exact thing the guy said he didn't want to do because he thought he was going to fuck it up. But I did succeed in pressing the new, getting the connecting rod and the pin all together. So now I've got 7 pistons. I'm absolutely fucked because I have a 7-cylinder V8 engine. Alright, the last month's worth of crap that I have gone through, fighting, trying to get this engine back together and getting parts for it and everything is all going to be cut out. Whole bunch of eBay bullshit, whole bunch of, well, just one little Summit screw up that turned out to be a massive ordeal, but then I had to go to eBay and they screwed the pooch 60 times. Anyway, I now have a new parts engine sitting over there that I paid $200 for, robbed a piston out of it, slapped that in the sucker, gapped the ring, everything else. So all the rings are gapped, everything is torqued down, everything's good to go. So now I just need to start putting it back together and hopefully get the thing started. Now all I gotta do is start reassembling the bottom end. I've already got the connecting rods and everything all bolted up the way they're supposed to be. Hopefully everything holds up. I am really worried about those connecting rods. They seem worn out to me. They don't look like they're weak and can't handle the turbo. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about how fatigued they look. So I'm not going to say that I'm not going to take this thing out and rip on it and spool up the turbo and everything. I'm going to say that I should not do that. One of the main concerns that I always have, because I'm always doing these builds by myself, is did I hook everything back up correctly? I only have one electrical plug that I don't know what the hell it goes to, and my vacuum line that's going to my valve cover, I was going to say valley cover, valve cover on the other side isn't plugged into anything, so I don't know if it actually went to anything or not. I don't think it did. I think it's just open to atmosphere and it's just sitting over there, which is similar to what this one's doing. I think we are ready for the first fire after the copper head gasket and new piston rebuild. So this is that moment where your car is done. At least you hope it is. You're sitting there, you're thinking about every clamp, every bolt, every connector, every hose. You're thinking about everything. I put oil in it, put coolant in it, hooked up all the wiring, checked the fuel pressure. Trying to think, because the best case scenario, you turn it over and it just doesn't start if something's wrong. Worst case scenario, something's wrong, you've got your hand on the starter and it's cranking over and you either hear a crunch, a clank, or a bang, and then the engine falls silent even though your hand's still on the starter. That's worst case scenario. And power on. It says 11.9 volts. ECU. Fuel. It's winding down because it's building pressure. Fans work. 11.5 volts. don't think the battery. I got solar maintainer panels sitting back there that keep it charged up, so I don't think that's the issue, but I'll fire up the gas generator, throw a charger on it, and we will see. According to my battery chargers, they're both saying it's at 0. So I guess that is the problem. All right, I let the batteries charge up for about half an hour at 10 amps for both batteries. Now they're both on a 50 amp boost. Fuel and ECU. Here we go again. My digital oil pressure says it's damn near 0, but the mechanical is almost at 40. I don't hear any knocking. I'm gonna keep an eye on the, oh yeah, my water temperature doesn't even work. I'm gonna have to plug it into my computer now. The absolute last thing I want to hear right now is clunk, and the engine just grinds to a halt. It's idled down because the temperature's gone up, but it's got me worried sitting out there, so I'm trying to get my computer to turn on as fast as I can so I can turn on HB tuners and see what it's doing. Apparently I didn't even have the damn thing installed on my computer. That makes sense. Of course, when you're in a time crunch like this, of course you need to make sure that you install all your programs that you need instead of having them booted up and ready to go. Like having the computer on before you go out there and try to start the car. Duh. Seems to be fine. We're at about 60 PSI for fuel. Nothing's caught on fire. It's blowing a little bit of smoke out of there. It's blowing a little bit of smoke out of here, where my exhaust is. My temperature gauge, I don't know why it's going up. It's not hooked up. It must be sitting right by the exhaust or something, but that's not gonna do me any good. 30 PSI. Oh, that's not good. I heard a little bit of a knock when I get off the gas. Ew, clunk, 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 clunk. Shit. So now I'm gonna have to let it cool down, drain the oil out of it, get back in there, look at those connecting rods again, because those are the only things that I'm actually concerned about. So, yeah, well, there you go. That's how to install copper head gaskets and what I did to try to make sure that everything works on them. This will complete the video. Well, you're in for a special treat. This is one of Uncle Si's little recipes. If you find yourself running low on hand cleaner after you're done working on your car, one thing that helps to get rid of all oils and gasoline and all that kind of stuff is Plant Life. All you do is you take even grass or just green leaves or anything, and after you mush them up and smush them, the little juices that come out of these plants actually clean your hands just as good, if not better, than any hand cleaner. And yes, you can use grass as well. Any green vegetation, assuming it's not poison ivy or poison oak or something stupid like that, this stuff, when you mush it up, will get rid of all the greases and grime that's on your hands. Check it out.